Good day. My name's Stephen Lazar from Property Network. How are you today? Thank you for stopping by. I thought I'd share important updates with you regarding NDIS property, or otherwise called SDA property under the NDIS. If you're investing in Melbourne or Victoria, you may not be aware of these changes. So aside from the changing landscape where land has become more expensive, build costs have become more expensive, so your yield as a percentage of the property have dropped. The banks have also changed the way they're lending. They've gone principal and interest only over 25 years. And this will change the numbers of your planned for cash flow. And if you were intending to reinvest the generous income, it will now impact your plans going forward on your return on investment. Revisit your budget and plan for these new changes, the way the banks are now lending for NDIS. But of higher importance to you, if you're investing in house and land areas in Melbourne or Victoria, there are a few things you want to be aware of that you might not be aware of, that you want to be aware of. Firstly, if you haven't invested yet and you're looking to invest in Melbourne, it is very difficult, based on the land cost, to come in with a budget under $1 million, doing the right thing by your participants, their families, and their carers. You do need a decent sized block of land and a decent generous floor plan, because if you build cheap, they're not going to come, as history is proving to us with the vacancy rates. The other issues with new areas that you might not be aware of is that a person with disability can only apply for an SDA package if they're older than 18 years of age. The demographic in these new greenfield areas is much younger. They're attracting younger families, and young families would have young children. New estates are not attracting older families with older children who would qualify for SDA funding. This could cause a shortfall of required participants. Be mindful when looking at these greenfield areas, when wanting to invest in SDA property. And unfortunately, due to the barriers to entry, this is where probably 99% of the marketing packages are being marketed to you in Victoria. They do present well on paper, and on paper only, they could offer a sound yield. But are there participants who qualify to be your participants as your tenants, or to meet the rooms available in the area, because there is a growing supply? So do your due diligence or reach out to me. I'm happy to discuss your project with you. Now, of higher importance, we're aware of a lot of investors who've already put their hand up and signed house and land contracts with marketing companies for SDA housing. Are you aware? Of late, councils are coming back to the builders and they're saying, we will not accept a Class 1B or 2B build. They will only approve a Class 3 build. And what this means to you is that a Class 3 is a property that is classed as shared accommodation. And if you have shared accommodation, it has to be completely fireproofed in Victoria. And not only do you have to have fireproof between the walls, you now need sprinkler systems inside the house and sprinkler systems on the outside of the house if your boundary of your dwelling is close enough to the house next door. And in Victoria, there's a lot of houses that are like that. This is an important issue that you need to speak to your builder about today, or preferably speak to the marketing company who sold you the SDA project. You cannot get away with it. Council, and I'm not saying all councils, but what we found is that certain councils, and others will catch on going forward, the councils that are insisting on it right now will only approve it, they'll only approve a permit to build if it's a Class 3. And this Class 3 does need fire protection. And this will add around $50,000 onto your build cost. What if you don't have this extra cash, or the bank won't lend you that amount on top of your current pre-approval? if you haven't budgeted for it, you're going to be having significant issues. A lot of investors would have secured land that's not registered yet. And whilst you're waiting for settlement, the landscape has changed underneath you. Only after settlement can your builder apply for the building permits. And if you're one of those caught up in this new council regulation changes, be mindful that you may get this comeback in your face, that you'll now need to build a class 3 and have an extra budget for it. We've heard of a marketing company that's suggesting you cheat the system to get build approval and then implement and build the original design. This is a short-term fix until a carer or participant complains or a fire breaks out, and not only will you be uninsured, but you could be held liable and you would get sued. There are no shortcuts here to cheat the system. Out of curiosity, have you had an SDA consultant review your floor plan that has been suggested by the marketing company that's inside your build contract, just to ensure that it is rentable and suited to the participant you're building for? And if not, why not? I'm happy to look at packages that you might have signed and give you our feedback. We'll also give you an introduction to an SDA provider who has your interest and your participant interests at heart, who would look to manage the property for you to attract SDA participants. They're doing it at a very reasonable rate, and they're not signing long head lease agreements like some of the other SDA providers are getting you to sign. And the longer the head lease agreement means the longer you're signing away the rights to your property. You're stuck with them with very expensive exit clauses if they do offer any. Please be mindful of long head lease term agreements. Let me know if you need an introduction to these SDA providers. We'll be able to look after you. So revisit this video. There's some significant changes that have happened with SDA property. My name is Stephen Lazar from Property Network. I'm here for you. Have a good day.